What's up, everybody? Welcome to another recap of the 2022 NFL season. We're in week 12. That means Thanksgiving Day games. I hope all y'all had a fun, safe, happy Thanksgiving with your families. Maybe you played a little flag football, maybe tackle in the morning. If you're one of those families that goes on a turkey trot, 5K, I don't know what the hell you're doing. You might need to check yourself into a mental facility because it's not a way to do Thanksgiving, but that's just me. I'm all about the mimosas to start off. Hopefully, you enjoyed a lot of food, pie. You won the family board games that you played, such as myself. Slight humble brag. And we had some good football games, not just on Thanksgiving, but across the weekend. Let's get into it. We start with those Thanksgiving Day games. Start with the Detroit Lions, who were taking on the Buffalo Bills. Bills' second game in Buffalo in the past 4 days for them, and this one was a lot closer than I think people expected. The Lions, they play tough, always play tough under Dan Campbell. Josh Allen had himself a pretty good game. 2 TD passes, one to Stephon Diggs. He had Turp, the other to Isaiah McKenzie. Also had a rushing TD. But on the Lions side, it was the day of Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's definitely their number one receiver, good go-to. He had 9 catches, 122 yards, and a TD. And like I said, this one was back and forth. The Lions, they kicked a game-tying 51-yard field goal with 23 seconds left. You thought, all right, this game's going into overtime. But Josh Allen says, nope. They get the kickoff, first play after the kickoff. Josh Allen finds Stephon Diggs, again, he had Turp, for a 36-yard gain and sets up Tyler Bass for a game-winning 45-yard field goal. The Bills, they escape with the victory on Thanksgiving over the Lions in Detroit, 28-25. Next, we go to the Cowboys, who are the next staple of Thanksgiving Day football. They were taking on the New York Football Giants. And Dallas's offense, they were in check. Dak had 2 TDs, both to Dalton Schultz. Zeke had a rushing TD. And things never felt close at all. I mean, the Cowboys defense, they didn't get a lot of sacks. They didn't, get any interceptions, but they just played well enough. They held Saquon Barkley to only 39 yards rushing and a TD. Like I said, this never, despite what the score says, never really felt close. Cowboys cruised to a comfortable victory over the Giants, 28-20. Then we go to the Thursday night Thanksgiving primetime game between the Vikings and the Patriots. Now, most people, including myself, thought that primetime Kirk was going to show up, not play well. That was not the case. He was slinging the ball around. He had 3 TD passes, almost 400 yards passing. He hit Hawkinson, he hit Justin Jefferson, he hit Adam Thielen. He made the Patriots defense look silly. This is a team defense, Patriots that is, that were holding opponents, pretty tough, not allowing them to score. That was not the case. Mac Jones on the other side of the ball, he had himself a pretty good game. He had over 300 yards passing, 2 TDs, 1 to Nelson Aguilar, 1 to Hunter Henry. 1 TD was called back. It looked like he caught the ball and crossed the plane. I don't know what's a catch and what's not a catch, especially and what's a TD. He crosses the plane with the football. That should be it. But you got to go down. You got to make a football move, and the ball bobbles. I don't get it. Like, can we make up our freaking minds here? If you catch the ball and you cross the plane, that's it. No matter what happens to the ball after that, that should be a touchdown. We got to discuss this in the offseason because I'm getting tired of it. That should have been a TD. But, I mean, the backbreaker was the Patriots allowed a 97-yard kickoff return for a TD. And that was probably the difference in this game. Sucks, but, the Vikings, they keep on cruising. They can clinch a playoff berth here in Week 13 coming up. They get the victory over the Patriots in primetime, 33-26. We go to Sunday's games. We start with the Buccaneers and the Browns. This was just a down bad game for Tom Brady. He played all right. He had 2 TD passes, but he needed to win. He needed to win because there were reports coming out that Giselle was seeing her jiu-jitsu instructor. Yikes. I mean, I haven't seen photos of the guy, but I'm sure he's pretty much built. She needed a rebound. Brady probably calculates, his time that he, has sex with Giselle. He probably runs that 2-minute drill every time. Get in, get out, score as quickly as you can. You know what I mean? And Giselle, she needs something longer. And jiu-jitsu guys, they don't mess around. Not a good look for Brady, and not especially when the Browns, they came back. Jacoby Brissett finds David Njoku with a beautiful one-handed catch, 12-yard TD. Browns tied up. They go into overtime, back and forth. No one really getting much ground, breaking through. But finally, the Browns, they drive down. Nick Chubb with the game-winning rushing TD. The Browns, they get a good victory over the Buccaneers in overtime, and they have Deshaun Watson coming back this week. Start for them. Maybe they'll make some news, run the table the rest of the season. We'll see. But for now, they get the victory over the Bucs in overtime, 23-17. Next, we go to the Bengals and the Titans. Matchup between two good teams in the AFC, a rematch of last year's AFC divisional game, which the Bengals won in Nashville. Same story this time around. Joe Burrow was finding T. Higgins. That's his guy. Over 100 yards receiving for him. A TD. P. Ryan had himself a TD as well. Bengals offense playing good without Jamar Chase. Hopefully he can return this week, provide even more of a spark, and they can go on a run. Titans, on the other hand, Derrick Henry, only 38 yards rushing. That's just, they need offense. They don't really have a true number one receiver. That could not bode well for them as they progress here later in the season. They're going to win the South, I think, regardless, but you're measured on how well you do in the playoffs, unfortunately. So Mike Vrabel got some work to do, and the Bengals, they get a good road victory over the Titans, 20-16. We go to the Texans and the Dolphins. This one, even though the final score says, half, the Dolphins were blowing the Texans out. It was 30-0 at halftime. Mike Macdonald decides to sit Tua, which, Tua gets injured. You don't want to risk that. He's, gotten a few concussions this year. But for guys who had Tua as their quarterback in fantasy, such as myself, I needed 2 freaking points to win. 2 points. And yeah, I could have gotten it from another guy, but I also had Waddle. And you put in Skylar Thompson, you can't find Waddle for 1 catch and 2 yards. Like, what are we doing? I understand that you're up 30-0, but at least play Tua a couple series in the third quarter. I don't understand. Fine, you won the game, whatever. But Mike Macdonald, you got to think about fantasy. And I know people are saying, "Oh, these coaches don't think about fantasy." You should. Can we get a fantasy clause in there that hey, if you're up by this many points, you still got to play, a couple series to get, have the players check their fantasy stats at halftime and be oh, where am I at? How can I help a team? Especially as we're getting to the end of the regular season for fantasy, about to start playoffs. We need you guys to step up. So Mike Macdonald, no sitting Tua, playing. Thanks. But hey, you got the win. Good for you. Dolphins over the Texans, 30-15. Next we go to the Bears and the Jets. This is a game of Mike White, and Zach Wilson, you should be worried. I know, Mike White will probably suck next game because that's what he did last year. Had a great game. He sucked. But hey, he had 3 TDs, 2 of them to Garrett Wilson, 1 to Elijah Moore. No Justin Fields for the Bears, so they started Trevor Siemian. And yeah, this was a blowout. Jets look good. They're still in playoff contention. They stick with White. I would stick with them next game, see what happens. Jets, they roll the victory over the Bears, 31-10. We go to the Falcons and the Commanders. Something about the Commanders, man. They play tough under Taylor Heineke. It was the 15th anniversary of Sean Taylor tragically, getting killed in his home, defending his family, and the Commanders tried to do a memorial. It looked like a mannequin from Under Armour. You just took a mannequin that wasn't being used, slapped on a jersey, uniform, all that, and it was hey, we're going to memorialize him. Where's a statue? Where's a statue of him? This guy was probably one of the better defensive players that I've seen play. Played hard, hit hard, and you fucked it up. Not a good look, Commanders. Hey, at least you won the game, right? Like I said, they played tough under Taylor Heineke. He had 2 TDs. Brian Robinson, over 100 yards. Rushing. Commanders, they're 7-5, hanging around in playoff contention. Who would have thought? Commanders over the Falcons, 19-13. We go to the Broncos and the Panthers. I think Nathaniel Hackett's got to go. He's got to get fired. I mean, this offense is absolute crap. 10 points on the Panthers. I mean, yes, they're playing, like, Steve Wilks, interim coach, hasn't played inspired, but, like, they start Sam Darnold. And, okay, Sam Darnold, he had 164 yards passing total for the game. 103 of those yards went to DJ Moore. He had Turk, and Moore also had a TD. What do you think about it? That's, God, I don't want to do math. What, 70% of his yards going to DJ Moore? Hey, Broncos defense, you think you might want to cover him? Jeez, I mean, like, this team is just in disarray. Nathaniel Hackett, I think he's got to go. He can't coach. He was supposed to be an offensive wizard. The things he did with Aaron Rodgers last year, an MVP, blah, blah, blah. It ain't working. And I don't know if it's Russ, more Hackett than Russ. I don't know. But Panthers, hey, any win for you guys, the rest of this season is just looking good. So kudos to you guys. You get the win over the Broncos, 23-10. We go to the Jaguars and the Ravens. The Ravens blow another fourth quarter lead. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's his offense, Lamar having the weapons. He has Andrews, but that's really about it. I mean, Trevor Lawrence looking like Thor. He had 3 TDs. Jamal Agnew, Marvin Jones Jr., and then a 10-yard TD pass to Zay Jones. Looked like he might have been in, might have been out. Hey, it's a controversy. Ravens fans will probably say he was out. They reviewed it. They called it good. They allowed him to catch the touchdown. 2-point conversion was good. Jaguars, they come back. It's 28-27. Lamar drives them down, sets up Justin Tucker for a potential game-winning 67-yard field goal. You all know he hit the 66-yarder last year. That was at Detroit in a dome. He was about 3 yards short. You hate to see it, but, I mean, the Ravens, they're now tied with the Bengals for first place in the AFC North. They got to win these games. These are games they got to win, and unfortunately, it's another tough loss for them. Jaguars over the Ravens, 28-27. We go to the Chargers and the Cardinals. And, I mean, Justin Herbert, this guy can play. I mean, it's sad that they've had so many injuries. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams have been out. The defense has sucked. But, I mean, this guy is a baller. I mean, he's definitely, I think he's a top 5 QB. I mean, he had 3 TDs. He led him on a 7-play drive at the end of the game. Found Austin Eckler for a 1-yard TD pass. Hit Gerald Everett. Same thing. They go for 2 instead of the tie. Hit Gerald Everett for the 2-point conversion. I mean, this guy is just a stud. Justin Herbert is a stud. Also has those locks, just looking good, playing good. I mean, there's nothing you can do. Kyler Murray, he had himself an average game, 2 TDs. I mean, just did enough. He's not doing this, the sexiness that he had last year. I don't know what it is, but Cliff Kingsbury, another coach that, is on the hot seat, could get fired. We'll see. Chargers, they remain in playoff contention with a good win over the Cardinals, 25-24. Next, we go to the Raiders and the Seahawks, which is a very high-scoring game. Derek Carr, he had close to 300 yards passing, 3 TDs. Geno Smith, on the other hand, he had himself a couple TDs, over 300 yards passing. Kenneth Walker, 2 rushing TDs. But this was the day for Josh Jacobs. Over 200 yards rushing, another 74 receiving, 2 rushing TDs, including the game-winning 86-yard rush TD in overtime. Josh McDaniels, you get to live another week. Raiders, you get a good victory over the Seahawks. That's it. Raiders over the Seahawks, 40-27. to 34 in overtime. We go to the Rams and the Chiefs. Rams were without Matthew Stafford. He was out with an injury. Bryce Perkins, I don't know who the hell you are. He started, did not look good. Chiefs, they just did what they needed to do to be an inferior team. No ifs, no ands, if, buts about it. Patrick Mahomes looking like the MVP for the season. And the Chiefs, they rolled to the victory over the Rams 26-13. Go to the 49ers and the Saints. What a dud of a game. 49ers won over the Saints 13-0, only offense. Juwan Jennings, TD pass from Jimmy Garoppolo. Alvin Kamara fumbled a couple times. That's it. I mean, that's all it really is. Boring game. 49ers over the Saints 13-0. Sunday Night Football between the Packers and the Eagles. Eagles remain in first place in the NFC. Jalen Hurts had himself a game. 2 TD passes, one to A.J. Brown, one to Quez Watkins. Over 150 yards rushing. Miles Sanders, 143 yards rushing, 2 TDs. Their offense was rolling. Packers' offense was also rolling. Aaron Rodgers, 2 TDs. Aaron Jones, he did his thing. Rodgers did get injured. I think it was in the third quarter with a rib injury. Jordan Love came in, found Christian Watson for a TD. But in the end, it just wasn't enough. Eagles basically just ended up scoring more points than the Packers. Hopefully Rodgers is okay. Heard he said he's going to play. But Eagles, they said first place NFC. Schedule gets a little bit tougher. But for now, they roll to the victory over the Packers on Sunday Night Football, 40-33. Finally, Monday Night Football between the Steelers and the Colts. Not a lot of big plays in this game. Najee Harris, Benny Snell, rushing TDs. Snell's was the go-ahead. They ended up finding George Perkins for the 2-point conversion. Steelers were up 24-17, and Colts get the ball back. They're driving. There was some questionable play clock management by Jeff Saturday, and the Colts ended up turning the ball over on downs. Steelers, they get themselves a nice road victory over the Colts. Still looking like a lost season, but hey, win's a win. Like to see Kenny Pickett do some more with the offense. Didn't really have a big passing game, but you do enough to get a victory. That's all it takes in this league. Steelers over the Colts, 24-17. That's it for Week 12. The Eagles and Vikings can claim playoff berths this weekend. I'm pretty sure the Vikings can win the division with a victory and Detroit loss, so look for them to wrap up the division in Week 13. That's crazy. But hey, they're playing well. We'll see what the rest of the season has in store. Like I said, we're starting to round out into who's in playoff contention, who's not. It's going to be an exciting end to the season. Stick around. Can't wait. See y'all next week.